Welcome everyone here to Full Circle, Florida. If the 2024 presidential election was a book, we're on page 360 of War and Peace. We've got a lot to think about over the next 7 months. The good news is we have plenty of time to think about it. 224 days and counting. Here's my conversation with our political analyst, Dr. Susan MacManus. Okay, so another big political week here in Florida and across the country. What did Trump's margin of victory reveal to us about November and how the rest of 2024 could play out?
It certainly revealed that there's still a hefty chunk of change that he's got to bring over to his side, and that means re-examining messaging and re-examining issues and how you approach them. It affects your ads, it affects your get out the vote targeting and grassroots activists, all of the above, because that's the advantage to having a primary and looking at the returns precinct by precinct, county by county, and seeing where you have to improve your turnout and bring in supporters that maybe voted for someone else in this primary.
They kept saying 90% was the benchmark for, I guess, the blowout, the ultimate, like, okay, Trump is going to do well. It didn't look like he got 90% across the board. Does that spell trouble for him in November, or is it so early that we just don't know that?
It's really early, but let me tell you, the places that he got 90% plus were clearly the very rural parts of Florida. And what you really saw in this vote was a stark urban county versus rural county kind of split. Different economies, different people that live in those places. The big metro areas were where you had more diverse voting patterns, whereas the 90% plus characterized almost all of the panhandle and many of the rural internal to the interior counties in Florida.
I think it's fascinating, the story of Ron DeSantis. You know, here's his home state, the primary. This was supposed to be a huge night for him if you took the calendar back 6-7 months ago. He's watching, I think he finished in third place behind Nikki Haley. Where does DeSantis fit in as a Republican in the party of Trump? What's his role in the future?
Right now, his role is to help Republicans win Florida. And if he's thinking about running down the way in a few more years, he's thinking about helping Republicans all across the rest of the country, which he could do with visits and helping them raise money and things like that. That's a typical pattern for somebody who loses but has ambitions, is to help Republicans everywhere.
Hasn't exactly given Trump a ringing endorsement when he's been out on the campaign trail, if you will, or when he's made these appearances. He almost seems to remind people, you know, why he might have been a better choice. Does he got to kind of push that aside and go all in on Trump at this point?
He has to pretty much stick to the issues that he knows are at the top of what Republicans are looking for. Right now, of course, it's immigration, the border, or the economy, but those issues, stances can change.
Let's talk about the Florida Democratic Party. They made the decision to cancel its state primary. Was that a strategic mistake?
Looking back, you're seeing a lot of Democrats that said we should have had a primary.
Why? What would that have done?
Well, you would have had other candidates that had announced, Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson. You would have had competition. That would have yielded more people going to the polls and voting so that Democrats could, just like Republicans are doing, track where they're weak, where they need to work on turnout and messaging. But now they were stuck with people criticizing them instead of looking at it, and it still would have been a solid Biden victory in Florida.
Moving forward, what does the next 8 months look like on the road to this rematch in November?
What we're seeing right now is the most negative feeling of the public. I describe the public's mood about politics at the moment as very sour. They are down on all of it. We've had massive voter fatigue, and they're really very, very weary of just the negativism. And what we're seeing so far in the campaign strategies of Trump and Biden is basically two presidents running against each other. One form is one criticizing the other's record and vice versa. Meanwhile, people are looking for inspiration.
Right.
A great headline in the New York Times said, people are longing for something positive.
This is not the...
And I don't think we're going to get it.
Well, I was going to say, this is not the hope campaign of Barack Obama from 2008,
No.
Clearly.
No.
If this is indeed the fork in the road that America is going to have to stare down for the next 230 days, 228 days, if you will, Are we really going to see any wild swings in the polling? Do you anticipate any major surprises or shakeups? Or is this the slow-moving, train that we must all reckon with on our own and choose the path based on what we already know? It pretty much is what it is.
You never say never with some unusual issue or circumstance coming along. I mean, look at what we've just witnessed in the last few months. All of a sudden, things are erupting in places around the world and we're getting embroiled and so forth. You just don't know what can turn on a dime. So you hate to say that it's just going to be same from now to November. I doubt it. But I'm worried that the mood is so negative towards everything politics that we could be headed towards a lower than usual presidential turnout.
I got a surprise for you. The one thing we don't know is Trump's running mate yet. I mean, that could be a curveball.
That's always interesting. Absolutely.
All right, Dr. MacManus, thank you for your time and your insight as always. Appreciate it. Next on Full Circle Florida, the real estate settlement that could change how you buy and sell your home.